I want to talk about the hostage situation that's playing out. Those always complicated, but when you factor in how densely populated Gaza is, and you also just see, frankly, how ruthless Hamas can be, how do those factors play into how Israel can respond and potentially rescue any of these hostages?
You can't even imagine how hard this is. It's the highest level of difficulty that's even conceivable, because this was obviously planned from the beginning. This was something that Hamas had resourced. They probably already had locations where they had planned to take the hostages before anything ever happened, because you've seen that they were completely ready for all of these things. And so one of the very first things that they did when they broke through those walls was they immediately went to grab people and bring them in there. So we can count on the likelihood that they have spread them out throughout the Gaza Strip so that they're not easily identifiable, and that if Israel tries to move and to find any of them or to rescue any of them, they will be detected before they get there. And almost certainly Hamas has countermeasures in place for that. So I just can't even imagine it could be any more difficult. If you had one set of hostages somewhere, it would be enormously difficult. But we've heard that there's at least up to 150, potentially more. And now then it's just going to be nearly impossible. And on top of that, you have the threat of Hamas to execute any of the hostages if Israel launches airstrikes into the Gaza Strip that kills civilians. Based on what they've done so far, you have to believe that's a credible threat.
We've been seeing airstrikes continue to play out from the Israelis this morning. Benjamin Netanyahu said that the response will reverberate for generations. If Israel was to truly take out Hamas, completely eliminate them, what type of military action would that actually take to make it a reality?
I think that that's an unachievable military objective, and let me tell you exactly why. This is very similar to the situation that you had with President Obama in 2009 when he said, we're going to go into Afghanistan and we're going to destroy and defeat the Taliban. Yeah, I mean, you just can't do it, because how would anyone know on the Israeli side if they go into the Gaza Strip and they see somebody? Is he a Hamas fighter? Is he just a man that got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time? Is he an angry father trying to protect his family? I mean, you just don't know. And Israel can't just shoot everybody they see, or it would be a humanitarian nightmare of the highest order. As bad as it's been on the Israeli civilians, Israel can't solve that by going in and slaughtering innocent civilians on the other side. So they have to be very targeted in what they do, which requires lots of intelligence. It requires lots of patience. And right now, there's not a lot of any of those.
And I think of the video that we're showing or just had on the screen of just, again, how densely populated Gaza is. Israel has said it is not trying to target civilians. But when you look at this video, how is it possible to even try and not have civilian casualties when you're carrying out this type of military operation?
I think that's something that Israel's going to have to come to grips with. And I've already starting to see increased discomfort and problems among even Western governments and organizations, because you can't literally level entire apartment complexes and see them just crash to the ground and not think that civilians are going to get killed there. And I mean, we've already seen that the Israeli intelligence was completely caught off guard of this, their human intelligence network being one of the most compromised. So you have to wonder upon what intelligence they're using to place these strikes, and what do they say is in there, and how would they know if they got the targets or not, or if there was lots of civilians. It's unfortunately, this is an active war, and there are now both sides are digging in, and they're making their positions hardened. And so far, the civilians on both sides of this line have been paying the highest brunt.
Knowing that Americans may be being held captive right now, the U.S. has moved the USS Gerald Ford, the aircraft carrier, closer to this region in the Mediterranean. Is there any situation that could play out where the U.S. would have to get airplanes involved or even boots on the ground?
No, there's not. Absolutely not. Israel is completely capable of taking care of their own security. They just mobilized 300,000 troops. There's only a handful. I mean, there's not that many fighters entirely in Hamas. I bet it's in the low thousands totally. So there's no need for any American boots on the ground, no American aircraft. Israel has complete dominance of the sky. They have the ability to defend themselves without any additional help from the U.S. in terms of manpower. Now, they can use ammunition. They need additional Iron Dome interceptor missiles and artillery rounds and other kinds of things, but there won't be any help coming from the U.S. in that. I think the main reason that carrier strike group is in the Gulf is to deter Iran or Hezbollah or anybody else from trying to get involved in this.